Good morning.
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 Good morning.
Hope you guys had a nice weekend. Let's give it a couple of minutes and see if anybody else joins. All right. I think we can start for now. I notice I'm going through the agenda, but I noticed that the agenda is empty, so I don't believe we have a topic in a specific. So I'm gonna open the floor for anybody that wants to discuss anything they want. Is there anything that you guys want to discuss?
I wanted to discuss hips, like the process of starting working on the hips.
Yeah, sure.
But I mean, I don't know too much about that. So the TSC they approve the hips or they reject the hips, and a community member has made the hip, or a few community members have made the hips, but we don't have a process in place to get started on the hips. So I know on the TSC they're saying, okay, individuals could have a go and do the hips themselves. To me, that would be something I've never done before, and I'm just curious about it. But
Right.
yeah, I don't know where I would start. Is it just like the Python thing, or if anyone has kind of any experience in that area?
I'm looking through the higher improvement proposals and see if there's any information that can help there. But in the meantime, if Angie and Keith, yeah. So if you go to this repo, I'm just looking. I honestly, this is first for me. I know that we have gotten a few hips reviewed during the TSC meetings, and I know that that's the place where we actually go through them and present them and get them submitted for a vote. But if you look at these repos README, it gives a lot of information about how to submit a hip and a little bit of what is a hip, etc. But I'm not sure if this is what you're looking for, or if you already have gone through this and you have questions. Go ahead, Keith. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, maybe I can speak to this. So,
Oh, yes, please.
So say hips, like you said, anyone can bring a hip. It normally it goes to the TSC. There's a vote. Actually, there's a dual process because a hip means that a hip that goes to TSC means it's approved for the Hiero network. But then also, if we're talking about the Hedera network specifically, there's an additional approval by something called Hedera TechCom. Once now I'll speak from the Hashgraph engineering perspective. Once we have approvals from TSC and from TechCom, then normally we will kick off, we will schedule work on a hip. Most hips, this is the SDK call, the bulk of hips require changes to the consensus node software. And then the SDK software, matches that work. So when, like take any of the recent hips, like I don't know, hip 991, we had to make changes to the consensus node software. When that work is done or about to be released in a Hedera release, we will also add support for that new functionality in the SDKs. So there's kind of a timing thing. So I guess my question, Sophie, is when you talk about work on a hip, do you mean work on the for the consensus node, or do you mean work in terms of the support needed in the SDKs?
Yeah, I think you've kind of partly answered the question. So when you want to create the bring it to life, I mean, that will often require changes to the software, but it will also require like SDK changes as well. So yeah, learning about that is pretty useful, pretty interesting. Does the technical committee have a process that would then feed back to Hiero once the hips have been approved by them and the software has been updated?
Not really. These are in general parallel processes. Maybe there's one other thing I should mention is that often that the hips themselves, if you looked at them, they don't contain all of the details you would need for implementation. So typically, I'll just talk from the SDK perspective. One additional step is that once a hip is approved, someone will normally create a SDK design doc in the SDK community repo. And that's actually the blueprint for how support will be rolled out in the SDKs. So it's kind of like there's a hip, the hip gets approved, and then somebody will write up and I'm talking about the SDK, someone will write up an SDK design doc. I think maybe the piece of information that's missing for the community, and we can talk more about this, is the timing. Because I mean, that's the crucial piece because, it'll all come together for a release, like release 65 or release 66, which we're at right now. So like, currently like the engineers are putting together everything needed for release 66, which includes changes to the consensus node and the parallel changes to the SDKs. So that all happens in a given release. So I mean that's the other important thing to understand is the Hedera release schedule. And this is when I'm talking about releases, I'm talking about the consensus node release schedule.
And the document that's created in the SDK community, is that something that the community would be involved, or is just one person creating that? Do we have somebody already?
So anyone can create an
has
SDK. Anyone can create an SDK design doc. And if you go to the repo sorry, I'm not on my computer, but if you go to the repo, you can see lots of different SDK design docs that kind of align to the hip. So every hip, if a hip requires SDK support, it should have an associated SDK design doc. And that's like, again, how we're going to implement that hip, how we're going to support that hip in the SDKs. I'm not sure if I answered your question, Sophie, but yeah, anyone can create an SDK design doc. Although typically they are created by, I mean, today they're often created by Robert or by the LimeChain team.
Okay, maybe I need to just check to see if I've seen one of them before. Where do you find them? The design docs? Not sure if I can hear. Maybe I muted something.
No, sorry, I dropped for a second. So if you were talking to me, then I dropped.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if Angie or Jessica kind of has any questions on that.
What was your question, Sophie?
No, if you wanted to, if you had any questions about the process,
Oh,
the
got
SDK, sorry, the hips are created,
not at the
the
moment.
changes and the SDK changes.
Gotcha. And not at the moment, but I'm pretty sure I might, because I've never written one, but I'm pretty sure if I ever have to, I probably gonna have more questions. Angie, do you have any questions?
Nothing that I had to bring up today.
Okay.
I had one more question. Is anyone here have the GitHub handle explore III? Is that you, Sophia, or?
Yeah, Explorer triple I.
Okay, so I wanted to just reach out and I saw that you left a lot of great questions on the simple fees hip, which actually I'm going to respond to today or today or tomorrow. So I think that's the other. I mean, you're showing a great example of the other great way that anyone can participate in hips is to help review hips and then leave lots of questions or comments or even to put up PRs for changes. So yeah, I thank you for leaving all those questions, and I'll get back to you in the next, probably today or tomorrow on that.
No, no need to get back to me. I just added it because in the TSC, I think there were some questions about like some sections, whether they were clear or not, but I just decided to add it like as feedback, but it's not really meant to be.
No, it's great, and that's the kind of amazing participation that we want to see in hips. So thank you for that.
And Keith, is there a hip that has been approved by the technical Hiero committee and is already in process to, yeah, with that, like more advanced?
Yeah, so every month we have probably one or two hips that we're working on. So I think the answer is, certainly yes. I'm kind of right now, a lot of the hips being approved are some of the block stream, block node hips. That's a lot of the heavy work wrapping right now. But why don't I can take a look at let me just look at the roadmap and I can kind of tell you, Sophie, which hips are actively being worked on.
Okay, yeah, I mean, all of these questions have been really helpful to me to understand, and the timing, as you say, because I mean, I've just attended the Hiero meetings, so I've been attending like the TSC, the community meetings, so I've only been able to see the initial approval process, but I don't know what happens after that.
Yeah, understandable.
And some of
And
it, right, so yeah, making that come to life would be really good to be able
I think the only other thing to understand was the timing of when. Okay, now I'm talking about when Hashgraph works on hips, is that it's quite dynamic. Like we're a kind of an agile software house, so like we might say that, oh, we're working on hip 1261 for release 66, but as we get closer, other priorities pop up or there's issues, so it moves to release 67 or release 68. But that is how we talk about the timing of hips is in terms of the consensus node release. So now I maybe also kind of there also is mirror node hips. There are other hips. Like a mirror node hip might be specific for mirror node, and it would actually be timed with the release of their mirror node. But for the bulk of hips, they require changes to the consensus node software. So that's how we talk about the timing of them.
And are there any of these like meetings or discussions that are publicly available or would one day publicly available? Because if it's going to end up changing the way the Hiero network runs, it could be useful to learn more about that to see how the SDK needs to be adjusted and so on.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. Today, anyone can work on a hip, anyone can contribute code to the Hiero network. So I would say Hashgraph, we'll pick up hips and work on them. Are they public? No, today they're not. Those discussions. But the public component is that in the hip, we rely on the public discussion happening in the hip channel itself on GitHub. So anyone can leave a question or comment. asking like, well, when is this HIP going to be delivered, or with a specific question or specific comment. But that I think the public forum right now is the GitHub channel for that HIP. If we need additional communication channels, like a public meeting or something about the HIP, we can certainly look to do that. It's not something we've done to date.
Yeah, that would be, I mean, that would be interesting for me.
Okay.
Is it because of like the speed of delivery to have these meetings more agile and things? It's not publicly available.
Well, actually, I'm going to push this back to Jessica. I mean, this is a good question. I mean, obviously we could have a public Zoom a call about a HIP. I'm not too sure how we would communicate that to the community. I mean, there's, two steps to a meeting, right? First, you have to, set up the meeting, but then you have to invite people or let them know that the meeting is happening. I don't think if we were to do that today, I mean, obviously I could post in a HIP channel, hey, there's going to be a public meeting on this HIP, on Tuesday at 6 p.m. Pacific time, something like that. But I'm not too sure people would see it. I don't know. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that, because that would be the hard part, is how we communicate those meetings.
I agree. I mean, what I can think of is probably announcing it in the blog, in the Hiero blog, that, hey, this meeting is coming, or prepare for this meeting, or save the date, or whatever. But we still don't have visibility on how many people access those blogs. And this is something that I believe Sophie and we've talked about putting some sort of backend into the Hiero.org website, to be able to track how many people access the blogs, how many people read them, make them a little bit more interactive with comments. And Hendrik knows this, and he has some ideas for making this happen. But even then, if we put it in the blog, or the other thing would be to discuss it in the community call or TSC calls. But just as an example, the last community call, only Sophie and I attended, so I believe it's losing a little bit of traction. So I'm not sure. I think we need to work on.
Actually, we also had a couple other people, but they arrived late. So there was Genfinity and Luis from Hashcraft as well.
Oh, okay. And it was when we left.
Yeah, it's something like that.
Okay. Yeah, so that's at the moment, this is something that I am trying to figure out how to improve. I feel like we're losing a little bit of traction in the communication with the outside. And yeah, I think the only thing that I can think of is definitely any things that can be announced in the blog or in the other public meetings.
Yeah, but let me bring up a point I brought up before. I mean, I attend a lot of HIP meetings. Most of the HIP meetings the bulk of the discussion is about the implementation of the HIP in regards to the consensus node software. I mean, we almost if we were to have these open meetings, there probably would be no discussion of a SDK implementation. So I think, like, if the purpose is to learn more about how the SDKs are implementing a feature, I mean, like I said, we have the SDK design docs, and we could certainly ask the reps from the SDK team to present in this call about what HIPs are coming up, and talk about the SDK design docs. And that would be talking about the specific implementation, the specific support of HIPs in for the SDKs. Because like I said, I mean, maybe it's a good idea that we have more general meetings about the HIPs, but there would be no discussion in those meetings about the SDK, or very little discussion in those meetings about the SDKs. It would mostly be about, well, how do we implement this in the consensus node software?
Right. Angie, you had your hand up. Is there something that you wanted to add earlier?
Just a question regarding the blogs. I'm assuming the blog for Hiero would be on the Linux Foundation website. Is that right? Or
We
is
have
it?
that one. Yeah, we have that one, the LFDT blog that talks about Hiero at a more like a, how do you say, general level. But we also have the hiero.org /blog that has more technical and more less formal blogs that get posted there by the community.
Okay. Um, I'm trying to think. I'm wondering. The last one was in August. I'm wondering if it would be a good idea to do like it doesn't have to be like a monthly post, just something that like would go like for example September 1st, October 1st, announcing the everything more or less about Hyro, including the hips, where we're at, kind of like they do it on Medium. It's kind of like an overall view of where the project stands, what's pending, what's waiting approval, so on and so forth. I'm wondering if maybe that would be something we could add to try to encourage more people.
Yeah, that actually, I mean, I believe that the more communication, the more frequent communication we do, the better we have chances at keeping people interested. And if there's people that are following the blog, it's definitely gonna keep them interested in continue following. The issue that we have right now is that we don't have visibility into if there's how many people view, how many views do we get? We have no visibility into whether the blogs are being received. So I believe we need to do that first. We need to figure out a way to determine if we're having an audience at all. And if not, if we're not having much of an audience in the blogs, then we need to figure out how to promote them, etc.
Got you. Okay, I see what you mean. We don't we don't have a tool that tells us like the usage of that site, correct?
Not at the moment,
No.
but
Okay.
we brought this concern to Hendrik, and he has some ideas uh, on how to set up some sort of a backend on the website to be able to track all that and allow posting of like likes and comments, for example. So I believe Hendrix had some ideas on how to do that, but yeah,
Oh,
we don't have that at the moment.
okay.
Yeah, at the moment, Angie, the website's just like CSS, HTML with Hugo.
Yeah, I
We
noticed that I trying to figure out if I have a friend of mine and he has a tool that he can use to test it, and I'm wondering if I can see if I can put it in that tool and try to figure out some metrics and get some statistics back on usage and things like that. But
yeah,
okay, thank you.
Yeah, that would be great. The other places where we usually communicate with the outside is basically just our community meetings, and it's almost like a chicken egg problem, because how do we promote the community, that the community meetings are happening? I mean, we posted in blogs and I don't know, presentations, and when there's conferences and we talk about Hiero, we let the community know that that's those community calls are happening. But I don't know if we're doing enough to attract outside collaborators. Probably we should. Well, that's probably what I'm gonna be focusing on trying to find more ways to communicate to the outside collaborators. And that's also very important because now that we have graduated status, our job is to preserve the status. And part of that is to make sure that we continue to pull in collaborators and promote diversity of collaborators, not only for example, we have a lot of contributions coming from LimeChain, from Hashgraph, so we need to have a little bit more of diversity on organizations contributing to the project.
What kind of contributions and things would that, how would that look like?
So in general, having, well, what the tag looks at is the maintainer affiliation. So once we get more collaborators joining the project from different organizations, we have to work with them for them to be able to become committers and then eventually maintainers. So that's that's what the tag looks at. They look at making sure that there's a good diversity of maintainers. Or, for example, if we're acquiring a new
Who is the tag?
Sorry?
Who is the tag?
The tag is how do you call it? You remember when we had the how do you say, the review for our graduation status? So the tag is basically the council, the advisory council that is responsible for reviewing every project in the LFDT umbrella. And basically what they do is just well, there's two. Basically, the TSC is our internal technical steering committee that takes care of all the internal project decisions, but there's also an LFDT TAC, Technical Advisory Council, which it's in charge of approving at a greater level. Like, okay, they approve Hiero as a project in incubation, and then they review the project and make sure that it's following the guidelines for repository structure, for collaborator guidelines and security standards and quality of the code, and reviews the project when the project is going through different life cycles of stages of life cycle. So it's like a greater group of people that review the project as a whole.
Okay, sorry, I got you on a tangent there. You were saying about the organizations.
Yeah, so the organizations, this is something that the tag in LFDT reviews every year. So we actually, this is something that happens, it is continue to happen, that we provide a quarterly report of the Hiero project, and we provide an annual report of the Hiero project. So indeed, next Thursday, and this is an open call that anybody can join if you guys are interested, but if you go to the LFDT public calendar, you're gonna see that the meetings that happen on Thursday. And what we do, we present a report, a quarterly report of Hiero, and part of that report includes how has the community grown when it comes to organizations that are participating, and the diversity of the contributors, and whether the projects do they still have a activity going on them, etc. So all those reviews, so quarterly reviews and annual reviews, are gonna decide whether the project continues to hold the graduated status. So that's what I was saying, that it is something that the technical advisory council is tracking, that we have a diversity of organizations, and to acquire more organizations to participate in the project, we need to be able to communicate to the external world that things are happening, right? So I think that's the major concern that we have right now, that it's not easy to communicate to the outside world at the moment. So we need to figure out more ways to do that.
Okay, yeah, I think it'd be really interesting at least to attend a couple of them. It sounds like a lot a lot is going on in a lot happens in them as well. I'm
Yeah,
on
yeah.
calendar at the moment. I know this for
That's
Hiero, but I
yeah,
don't
that's the Hiero.
doesn't come up on our thing.
Search, click on projects there. Click on search for in the search part. Search for LFDT. Let me see if you're able to see it there.
I think
No.
you're looking at the wrong link. That's explicit for Hiero. Hold on, I have it. I got
Oh,
you.
thank you.
Yep. I've been
Yeah,
at
this is the one from
that
the
all the
website.
time. Sucks. Yeah, the foundation meeting, that's the one held on
Just remove
Thursdays.
that.
I always try to attend those. But
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean they're recorded as well if you guys are interested in listening to the recording, but definitely it's more interesting joining those.
Yes, I try to join them as often as I can. And I always keep that calendar up just in case. I do a calendar sync, make sure I have all my meetings. But yeah,
Yeah.
that Sophie, it's Thursday the 11th at 10 a.m.
Oh wow, yeah, okay. So this is like the all of the LFDT.
Yeah,
Yep.
and you can filter by
Thursday the
project.
11th will be like what afternoon for me?
Yeah, this calendar I recommend using just because it does give you an overview of all the projects, not just Hiero. If you're looking for just the Hiero, of course, use that one. But this one, I found it easier because it just gave me a list of everything that was going on for the week.
Okay, what's the name of it?
TAC, if you go for that would be on Thursday at about 10, I think it's 10 o'clock your time. You don't see it there? Oh, interesting. Let me see. So
Is it the foundation meeting that was needed to be looked for, or is this another meeting?
no, this is it's called the Technical Advisory Council meeting, but I'm wondering if
Uh,
it doesn't appear. I don't know if it appears in this particular calendar. I see the contributor. Oh, you know what? Go to the next week. Oh yeah, no, it does appear. It does appear. Next through go to the one. I for a moment I thought that it got canceled. Next to the Trust over IP, TOIP, 3 p.m. Next to it, that
This
one.
one.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, for a moment I couldn't see it, and I'm like, oh, did it got canceled? But now it there it is.
Okay, great. And Angie, you say you can subscribe to all of this.
Yes, you can. And they're open for anybody to join, so I definitely encourage you to join if you're curious to see how these meetings are run. And just FYI, this Thursday, the Technical Advisory Council is expecting the Q3 report for Hiero. So I'm actually working on it to and to basically that is the deadline of the Hiero Q3 report, so you guys are gonna have a little bit of visibility into that report as well.
Great. I'll try and make it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that would be great.
Actually, this calendar is a pretty good example because like it's under the LFDT umbrella, and I'm guessing things change time. Every now and then you get impromptu meetings and things, but if you subscribe to that, you will still be notified of when things are, if you are interested.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, for sure. And yeah, as you say, I mean, there's new things happening or schedules changing, so that helps you stay on top of that.
And Keith, I was going to ask, so I saw on the Hiero there's a repo for consensus. Is that the same software that you are referring to for the consensus node?
Should be, yep.
Is that also something that I could like create, I don't know, issues and I don't know the words to describe what I would do on the consensus node.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, all Hiero software is open source, and anyone can comment or leave contributions.
Okay, but you don't have any community meetings or anything for the Hiero consensus node? That's separate from the SDKs, I guess.
Yeah, that is separate from the SDKs. No, we currently do not have a community meeting about the consensus. Consensus node software is, of course, our most complex piece of software. In fact, we kind of conceptually we break it into two pieces. One's we have a more like the mechanics of the software that around consensus, and the other one is the mechanics of the software around what we call services, or things like where people, that's normally what the SDK is interacting with. So, I mean, just to give an example, like we've been doing a lot of work on things like address book and things like that. That's more on the consensus side. And then, if we add a new functionality like HIP 991, like adding Hedera token service features or smart contract features, that's what we call the service. That's what the service component of the consensus node. So yeah, it's a complex piece of software, and even internally we kind of talk about it in, like, we kind of break it into two pieces. But it's an interesting, yeah. I can explore with Richard. Maybe we should be doing more community stuff around consensus node software.
Yeah, I mean for me, I think Angie the same. We've been attending most of the calls and we're no means experts in things, but the calls themselves have really helped to educate and help build our confidence as well, so that we are able to tackle the things that we are interested in. And yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I think these are good points. So let me raise that with the team.
Thank you. So I just forgot what else I was going to say. Oh, with Jessica, do you think so in the SDK calls you say that the attendance can be a little bit variable? What do you think of the idea of having like ideally have a representative from the JavaScript SDK and the Go SDK? I don't know whether that's possible, but at least myself being in the Python SDK, I've focused most of the time just in the Python SDK, but forming connections with the rest of the SDKs and kind of getting in sync with what they are doing on a regular basis, that would be really helpful. I don't have the Discord IDs of these people, and it's would just be a lot easier if that's all like more centralized.
Right. No, yeah, that would be ideal. I mean, if we can get a representative from each SDK to come to this meeting, that's initially what the intention of these meetings was about, right? What I can do is I can reach out to them and start a conversation and also bring it up into tomorrow's TSC call. But yeah, I think ideally we want to have more attendance, at least from one representative of each SDK.
Great, thanks.
Yeah, no, thank you for bringing that. Go ahead, Angie.
Angie, you're muted.
Thank you. I did a little bit, like just a small little bit of digging into how we can set up the web analytics to monitor traffic for Hiero. Doesn't seem to be too complex. Again, this is just something I did quickly, kind of like a Google overview. It seems as though it's just could just be a code snippet that we add in and a bit of configuration that's needed depending for the Hiero. Then the other thing, my question was for Keith. I found the Hiero consensus node repository. Sorry. And I'm looking over the good first issues. Are these still relevant issues that the consensus notice still working on? I noticed there are some things in here from May and April that span pretty further back. I just was curious if these were something or things that are still ongoing or if these issues had already been resolved.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a big backlog. I would think that all issues in the repo are relevant.
Okay.
You know, maybe I would focus on the ones that are more recently created and maybe check on the ones that were older. But yeah, I mean that is where we keep. I mean, that is where our engineers keep track of their backlog. So everything should be relevant.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Do we have any other topics we want to discuss?
Maybe for the blog, is that possible? I don't know, it's not really SDK. Just because the last website meeting we weren't able to do it, I think. Yeah, I am conscious I am kind of flooding it with Python SDK
No, that's
in
fine.
SDK
That's fine.
materials. Maybe I'll write something about something else. You know, if we would, because we have, so we have the there's this post for the 0.14 release, which is one of the things in the backlog, but we might have this one coming up. So that means that the Hiero blog, we might end up with you know, we've already got a few things as well. We might end up with a few sequential things. But I guess that's not great. So if anyone has any ideas what to do about that, I would appreciate that. I don't want to make the blog seem like it's just, you know, people that aren't interested in Python, they won't have anything to read.
No, I think I mean don't feel like you're overwhelming it. I mean, I would say continue posting as you go. I want to encourage you to continue posting the communication there. But definitely we have to encourage others other SDKs and other teams to make publications there as well.
Yeah, I made some like issues that came to mind, but I don't know if anybody has anything. So, you know, I've literally just said like in the thing, announce approval of the QSense hip, for example. I don't know whether I would, I mean, I could try it. I could try and write this, but yeah, I've just been adding like some ideas here. So maybe I'll give the link here in case anybody. I think writing a blog has been nice because you get to research the issue in a different way. Yeah. And yeah, I would just flag if you're able to review this one, the 0.14, that would be great. That would be really appreciated. I think we'll be doing 0.15 very soon. Okay, but I think that's it from me.
Thank you, Sophie. Anybody else has any comments? All right. Then let's keep in touch. And yeah, if you guys wanna reach out to me in Discord, feel free to do so. I'll see you guys in tomorrow's TSA meeting.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.